My brothers and sisters, let me ask you a question. Have you ever placed your trust in someone only to be disappointed? Have you ever depended on people expecting them to stand by you, but instead they left you at the very moment you needed them most? That pain, that heartbreak, that betrayal, it teaches us one of life's most powerful lessons. You see, people are human. They forget, they make mistakes. Sometimes they change, sometimes they leave. Even the most sincere of friends cannot always be there for you. But Allah, the Almighty, the ever-living, the one who never dies, He never abandons you. He hears you when you whisper. He knows your pain when you cry in silence. And He answers you when the world turns its back on you. When you depend on people, you set yourself up for disappointment. But when you depend on Allah, you set yourself up for peace. Why? Because His power has no limits, His mercy has no end, and His wisdom is beyond what we can imagine. Think of it this way: if you lean on a weak branch, it will break and you will fall. But if you lean on a strong, unshakable tree, you will be secure. People are like branches. Some are weak, some are strong, but all can break one day. Allah is the firmest foundation, a support that never collapses. When we reflect on life, we realize one of the most profound truths. People are limited, but Allah is unlimited. Every single person you know, no matter how kind, caring or supportive, has weaknesses. They have limits in what they can do for you. Sometimes they are too busy, sometimes they are too tired, and sometimes they simply cannot understand the pain or the struggle you are going through. This is the reality of human beings. They were created weak, forgetful and dependent themselves. Even the people who love you most, like your parents, children or close friends, have a point where they cannot go further. They may love you deeply, but they are still powerless over certain things in life. Think for a moment about how many times you expected someone to help you, only to be let down. Maybe you asked for advice, but the person gave you words that only hurt you further. Maybe you relied on a friend to keep your secrets, but they revealed them to others. Maybe you thought someone would stand by you in a time of difficulty, but when that difficulty actually came, they turned away. These experiences hurt because we place too much weight on human beings. We put expectations on them that they were never created to fulfill. Now compare this with Allah, the one who is unlimited. His knowledge has no end, His mercy encompasses everything, and His power is above all creation. When you turn to Him, you are turning to someone who never gets tired of listening to you, never misunderstands you, and never leaves you. Allah is not bound by time, space, or human weakness. He is not limited in resources, and He is not distracted by other matters. For Him, answering your prayer is as easy as creating the heavens and the earth. When you rely on Allah, you rely on the one whose control extends over every single thing in existence. Many times we see people running from one person to another, searching for comfort, approval, or solution. But people cannot fill the emptiness of the heart, because the heart was designed by Allah to be filled only with His remembrance. That is why no matter how much you depend on others, you always feel a sense of disappointment or incompleteness. But when you depend on Allah, when you submit to Him fully, you find a peace that no one else can give you. Look at the prophets, peace be upon them. They faced rejection from their own people, betrayal from close companions, and abandonment from their society. Yet they never lost hope, because they knew that their true reliance was not on people, but on Allah. Prophet Ibrahim was thrown into the fire, and even then he said, Allah is sufficient for me, and He is the best disposer of affairs. Prophet Muhammad was abandoned by his own tribe, mocked and even harmed, yet he turned to Allah for strength. Their examples teach us that even when the whole world is against you, if Allah is with you, then you have everything. The lesson is simple but life-changing. Stop expecting from people what only Allah can give. People may love you, but they cannot guarantee you happiness. People may promise you, but they cannot guarantee your future. People may support you, but they cannot control your destiny. Allah, on the other hand, holds every moment of your life in His hands. He knows the hidden and the unseen, and He is closer to you than your jugular vein. When you put your trust in Him, you are relying on a source that never fails. So every time you are let down by someone, use it as a reminder. Instead of letting it break your heart, let it guide your heart back to Allah. Remember that the disappointments of this world are signs pointing you towards the unlimited power and mercy of your Creator. People are limited, but Allah is unlimited, and that is why true peace, security and happiness can only come when you depend on Him. Depending on people often leads to disappointment, because people by their very nature are fragile and imperfect. No matter how much someone cares for you, they cannot always meet your expectations. Sometimes they forget, sometimes they change, and sometimes they simply cannot do what you had hoped they would. This is not because they are bad, but because they are human. When you place your trust and dependence entirely on another person, you set yourself up for heartbreak, because sooner or later they will show you that they are not able to carry the burden of your expectations. Think about the moments in your own life when you relied heavily on someone. Perhaps you counted on a friend to be there in your darkest hour, only to find they were too busy or too distracted. Perhaps you confided in someone, trusting they would protect your words, but instead they spread them to others. Perhaps you thought a person would never leave, but when trials came, they walked away. Each of these situations hurts deeply, because you had given your heart to people instead of reserving it for the one who never fails. Depending on people not only causes pain, but it also weakens your spirit. It makes you constantly anxious about whether they will stay, whether they will fulfill their promises, or whether they will continue to support you. You begin to fear losing their approval, their presence, or their love, and in that fear, you lose your own sense of peace. You live in uncertainty because your foundation is shaky. This is the danger of putting people at the center of your trust. Now compare that with depending on Allah. When you shift your reliance to Him, you begin to experience freedom. You no longer panic when people leave, because you know Allah remains. You no longer feel crushed when promises are broken, because you know Allah's promises never fail. You no longer worry about people's approval, because you know the only approval that truly matters is Allah. This shift transforms the way you see life and the way you handle challenges. Depending on Allah does not mean you cut ties with people or refuse help from them. It means you see people as a means, not as the source. For example, when someone helps you financially, you thank them, but your heart knows the true provider is Allah, who sent that help through them. When someone comforts you, you appreciate them, but you realize that it was Allah who placed those words in their heart. This way your gratitude remains balanced, and your dependence remains on the one who controls all hearts and situations. The Qur'an reminds us again and again to rely on Allah, not because people are useless, but because people are limited. Allah is the one who knows the unseen, who holds your future, and who understands you, even when you cannot put your feelings into words. Every time you pray, you are reminding yourself that Allah is the one who has power over your affairs, not the people around. Disappointment from people is not just a test, it is also a lesson. It is Allah's way of gently showing you, do not place your full trust here, place it with me. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every letdown is a sign directing you away from depending on creation and toward depending on the Creator. Once you understand this, the pain of disappointment becomes lighter, because you see it as a redirection rather than a destruction. So if you want to protect your heart from unnecessary pain, remember this truth: depending on people will almost always end in disappointment, but depending on Allah will always lead you to peace. Allah is the one who never forgets you, never abandons you, and never fails you. When you depend on Him, your heart finds stability, because you are anchored in the only source that never breaks. Allah is the ultimate support, and when you truly grasp this reality, it changes your entire perspective. Imagine leaning on something weak and unstable. The moment pressure is applied, it collapses, leaving you to fall with it. That is what happens when you lean entirely on people or worldly things. They may hold you for a while, but eventually their weakness shows, and you are left broke. Now picture leaning on something unshakable, firm, and everlasting. No matter how much weight you put on it, it never breaks. That is what happens when you lean on Allah, the Almighty. He is the firmest foundation. the unbreakable support, and the one who will never let you down. Life is full of storms, and every storm tests where your support lies. When hardship strikes, some people panic because their sense of stability was tied to money, status, or relationships. If wealth is lost, they feel like they have lost everything. If people leave, they feel abandoned and empty. But the person who leans on Allah remains firm. Even if the world crumbles around them, they know their support is unshakable. Their heart may feel pain, but it will not collapse, because it is connected to the one who is stronger than every trial. Allah's support is not like humans. Human beings can offer comfort in words, but they cannot change your destiny. They can offer a hand to hold, but they cannot remove your burdens completely. Allah, however, is the one who can change your situation. He is the one who brings relief after difficulty, light after darkness, and ease after hardship. When you depend on Him, you are connecting yourself to the source of all power, all mercy, and all strength. Think about the way Allah supported the Prophet Musa, stood at the edge of the sea, with Pharaoh and his army behind him, and no way forward. The people around him panicked, saying, "We are doomed." But Musa did not waver, because his support was Allah. He said with confidence, "Indeed my Lord is with me. He will guide me." And Allah split the sea for him. This is what it means to lean on Allah. When everyone else sees no solution, you still have hope, because you know that Allah can create a way out that no one imagined. In your own life you will face moments when the doors seem closed and the people you relied on are nowhere to be found. In those moments, if you remember that Allah is the ultimate support, you will not instead you will turn to Him in prayer. You will pour out your heart in dua, and you will wait with patience for His help. And His help always comes, though it may not come in the way you expect. Sometimes He removes the problem, sometimes He gives you the strength to endure it, and sometimes He replaces what you lost with something better. But in every case, He supports you in the way that is best for you. What makes Allah's support so unique is that it is like people may be with you today but against you tomorrow. People may love you when times are good, but disappear when times are hard. Allah, however, is with you through every season of life. He supports you in ways you see, and in ways you do not even know. The very breath you take, the heartbeat that sustains you, the opportunities that come your way, all of them are forms of His support. Even when you feel completely alone, Allah is holding you up. Understanding Allah as the ultimate support frees your heart from fear. You no longer fear being alone, because you know He is always with you. You no longer fear losing, because you know He can replace whatever is taken. You no longer fear the future, because you know He is already in control of it. This reliance creates a peace that cannot be shaken by worldly ups and downs. So remind yourself every day, if you lean on people too much you may fall, but if you lean on Allah you will always stand firm. His support is the strongest, His foundation is unshakable, and His care for you is beyond measure. When you realize this, your heart becomes unbreakable, because it is anchored to the one who never fails. The Qur'an is full of guidance for those who wish to place their trust in Allah. And one of the most powerful verses is where Allah says, "And rely upon Allah as sufficient, is Allah's disposer of affairs." This verse is not simply a statement of fact, it is an invitation to live a life of reliance, to shape your attitude and choices around the certainty that Allah is enough. When Allah tells you to rely upon Him, He is reminding you that your struggles, your problems, and your future are never in the hands of people or circumstances, but always in His hand. This verse appears in the context of challenges, reminding believers that even when the odds seem stacked against them, their success lies in trusting Allah. For the early Muslims, the enemies were powerful, resources were scarce, and the future looked uncertain. But they were told to rely upon Allah, because if Allah is with you, then nothing else matters. This same message applies to us today. We may not be standing on the battlefield, but we face our own battles every single day. Battles with anxiety, heartbreak, financial struggles, family problems, and personal weakness. The verse reminds us that the outcome of these struggles is not decided by people, money, or status, but by Allah alone. When you rely on Allah, you acknowledge that He is the one who manages every detail of your life. He is Al-Wakil, the ultimate trust. Just as you hand over your affairs to someone trustworthy when you cannot manage them, you hand over your entire life to Allah, knowing that He will manage it better than you ever could. And when you do that, you feel a weight lift off your shoulder. The constant worry, the sleepless nights, the fear of the future, they begin to fade, because you know that Allah is taking care of you. The beauty of this reliance is that it does not mean you stop working or making effort. Islam teaches us to strive, to take action, to plan wisely. But at the same time it teaches us that our efforts alone do not bring results. You may plant a seed, water it, and care for it, but the one who makes it grow. You may study for an exam, prepare with full effort, and walk into the test with confidence, but the one who grants you success is Allah. You may work hard in your job, chase opportunities, and do your best, but the one who opens the doors is. The Qur'an's message is clear: do your part, but trust the outcome to Allah, because He knows what you do not know. There is also a deep sense of security in knowing that Allah is sufficient. Think about it. People may betray you, wealth may run out, health may weaken, but Allah never leaves. If He is sufficient, then even if the entire world is against you, you are still safe. This verse pushes you to shift your mindset. Instead of asking, who will help me, who will support me, you begin to ask, what does Allah want from me, and how can I trust Him more? That shift changes your life, because your focus moves away from fear of people and toward hope in Allah. Many of the righteous people of the past lived by this verse. They faced hardships with patience, not because they were stronger than us, but because they believed Allah was sufficient for them. When they were in pain, they turned to Him. When they lost something, they trusted Him to replace it with something. When they did not understand why something was happening, they reminded themselves that Allah's wisdom is beyond human understanding. Their strength came from their reliance, not from themselves. This is why the Qur'an constantly calls us back to Tawakkul, reliance upon Allah. It is not just about belief, it is about practice. It is about waking up every day and saying, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, I will do my best today, but I leave the results in your hands. It is about facing loss and saying, Ya Allah, I trust that you have something better planned. It is about walking through uncertainty with the confidence that Allah is sufficient and He never fails. So every time you recite or remember this verse, let it sink into your heart. Rely upon Allah and know that He is sufficient. Carry that with you in your prayers, in your struggles, and in your daily life. When you live with that belief, you will find a strength that no disappointment can break, and a peace that no storm can take away. Trials are not random accidents in life, nor are they signs that Allah. Often, they are gentle, but powerful reminders to shift your trust away from people and direct it back to Allah. Every disappointment, every betrayal, and every heartbreak carries within it a lesson. Do not make people the center of your reliance. People are a part of your journey, but they are not your destination. Allah places these trials in your path to purify your heart, to strengthen your faith, and to bring you closer to Him. When someone you trusted lets you down, the immediate feeling is pain. You might feel broken, confused, or even angry. But if you look deeper, you will see the hidden wisdom. Allah is showing you that no matter how much you depend on people, they cannot carry the weight of your soul. Only He can. That realization is painful at first, but it is also liberating. Because once you shift your reliance back to Allah, you no longer live in fear of people's approval, nor do you crumble when they walk away. Betrayal is one of the hardest experiences in life. It shakes you because you never expected it from someone close. But even betrayal is a lesson from Allah. He allows it to happen not to break you, but to redirect you. You may ask yourself, why did this person hurt me after everything I did for them? The answer is that your heart had perhaps leaned too heavily on them, and Allah wanted to free you from that false reliance. By removing people from your life in such a way, He is pushing you to realize that He alone is worthy of absolute trust. Loneliness too is a trial that redirects us to Allah. There are times when no one seems to understand your pain, no one seems to notice your struggles, and no one is there to comfort you. Those moments of isolation can feel unbearable, but they are also opportunities. They teach you to turn to Allah in ways you never would have if you were surrounded by constant support. In those silent moments when you raise your hands and pour your heart out to Him, you feel a closeness that cannot be found anywhere else. That loneliness becomes a door to intimacy with Allah. This is why many of the greatest believers went through immense trials. Prophet Yusuf was betrayed by his own brothers, thrown into a well and sold as a slave. Each stage of his suffering was a step closer to Allah's. Prophet Ayub lost his health, his wealth, and even his family, but he never lost his reliance on Allah. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu faced rejection, insults, and abandonment. Yet he said, the closest a servant is to his Lord is when he is in sujood. Their lives show us that trials are not punishments, but redirections. When you start to see trials as reminders, your perspective changes. Instead of saying, why is this happening to me? You begin to ask, what is Allah teaching me through this? You begin to see every loss as a hidden gift, every hardship as a training ground for your heart. The people who walked away taught you to stop clinging to them. The heartbreak taught you that true comfort comes only from Allah. The closed doors taught you to knock on the door of. It is also important to remember that Allah never burdens a soul beyond what it can bear. If He places a trial in your path, it is because He knows you can handle it, and because He wants to bring you closer to Him. Sometimes the pain of disappointment is exactly what pushes you to pray more sincerely, to seek forgiveness more humbly, or to trust more deeply. Without that trial, you may never have reached that level of closeness to Him. So the next time life disappoints you, remind yourself, this is not the end, it is a redirection. Allah is moving you away from relying on people and bringing you back to Himself. And when you finally learn to lean on Him completely, you will find that every disappointment becomes a step toward peace, and every heartbreak becomes a step toward healing. True peace is not found in the hands of people, nor in the possessions of this world. It is found only when the heart places its full trust in Allah. The reality of life is that people can comfort you, but they cannot remove the pain from your heart. They can give you advice, but they cannot guarantee solution. They can stand with you for a while, but they cannot promise to be there forever. If your heart is attached to them, you will always feel a sense of instability. But when your heart is attached to Allah, the one who never leaves, the one who hears every cry, and the one who has power over all things, then you find a peace that nothing in this world can shake. Trusting Allah is not simply saying, I trust Him with the tongue. It is an attitude of the heart, a way of living. It means that when you make dua, you believe with certainty that Allah hears you, even if the answer does not come immediately. It means that when you are in hardship, you remind yourself that Allah's wisdom is greater than your understanding, and that this difficulty has a purpose you may not yet see. It means that when you lose something precious, you trust that Allah has the power to replace it with something better, whether in this world or the next. This trust transforms pain into patience, and patience into peace. Peace comes when you stop trying to control everything and hand over your affairs to Allah. Human beings are naturally restless. We worry about the future, we regret the past, and we feel anxious about the present. We want everything to go our way, and when it doesn't, we feel broke. But when you live with trust in Allah, you learn to let go of this constant struggle for control. You remind yourself, my life is in the hands of the one who knows me better than I know myself. That thought alone calms the storm inside the heart. One of the most beautiful ways to experience this peace is through prayer. When you place your forehead on the ground in sujood and whisper your worries to Allah, you feel a relief that no conversation with a human being can provide. People may listen to you, but only Allah can change your destiny. People may sympathize with you, but only Allah can heal your heart. Every moment of sincere prayer deepens your trust in Him, and with that trust comes a peace that carries you through even the hardest trial. The world around us is full of uncertainty. Jobs can be lost, health can decline, relationships can break, and plans can fail. If your sense of peace depends on these things, you will constantly live in fear of losing them. But if your peace depends on Allah, then nothing in this world can take it away, because Allah is constant. He does not change with circumstances. His mercy does not decrease when times are hard. His love does not disappear when people walk away. He remains with you all. This is why those who trust Allah deeply are some of the calmest people you will ever meet. They may be going through pain, but their hearts are not restless. They may face loss, but they do not despair. They may encounter betrayal, but they do not lose hope. Their secret is that they have placed their trust where it belongs, upon Allah, the source of all strength and peace. Every disappointment with people, every heartbreak, and every hardship is an invitation to turn back to Him. And once you do, you discover that peace was never in people's hands, it was always in Allah's.
And when you make that shift in your heart, you no longer live in fear of what tomorrow brings. Instead, you live with the assurance that whatever comes, Allah will carry you through it. That assurance is the very definition of peace. So if you seek a heart that is calm in the face of storms, stop chasing peace in people, possessions, or status. Turn to Allah, trust Him completely, and you will find that the peace you were searching for was waiting for you with Him all along. My beloved brothers and sisters, as we come to the end of this reminder, let us take a moment to reflect. Life will always test us. People will disappoint us, betray us, or walk away when we least expect it. Wealth will come and go, circumstances will rise and fall. Nothing in this world is permanent, and nothing here can carry the full weight of our hearts. But Allah remains constant. He is always there, always listening, always guiding, and always supporting. The message is simple yet powerful. Do not attach your heart to people, attach it to Allah. Do not depend on creation, depend on the Creator. People may try, but they are limited. Allah never fails. People may forget you, but Allah never forgets. People may abandon you, but Allah never abandons. And when you truly realize this, your heart finds a peace that no one can take away. So the next time you are let down, let it remind you of who your true support is. The next time you feel alone, remember that Allah is closer to you than your jugular vein. And the next time you face uncertainty, remind yourself that your affairs are in the hands of the one whose wisdom is perfect, and whose mercy is endless. Walk away from this gathering with this conviction in your heart. If I have Allah, I have everything. If I lose Allah, I have nothing. Depend on Him, trust Him, and you will never be disappointed.